guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Sadie.
I'm Rachel.
And today we're talking about what's our season. And so if you guys stay tuned, you're going to find out a little bit more about what that means. But we're really excited to do this video, and so we'd love to have you come along with us.
Okay guys, so we're going to start out this video by reading through Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 8. So I'm going to read that real quick here for you, and you can just listen along, follow along, whatever. It says, "There is an occasion for everything and a time for every activity under heaven. A time to give birth and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to throw stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to avoid embracing. A time to search and a time to count as lost. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace." And so that verse is really just about seasons of our life, and that's what we're talking about today. And about there's a time for this and a time for this and maybe not for this. And I think it's pretty repetitive there, speaking about the times for things in our life, and that different seasons are going to be different for each of us, and what we're supposed to be tending to and what we're supposed to be doing in those seasons. So that's a little bit more about what we want to talk about today and get into those verses a little more.
Yeah, so I kind of had the idea for this video because honestly this is something that I deal with in my own life, and I'm sure a lot of us do too, if we're being honest. But there's so many times where we're just like sitting in our room or sitting in class or sitting at work, and we're just like wanting and yearning for these lives that we see other people having. And what I mean by that is, like, we see girls in our classes and at our job, you know, like in the mall, online, on social media, like at our churches, like whatever, like pretty much everywhere in life, and we like see them getting married or getting engaged, having a boyfriend, getting their first job, graduating college. Like, we just see them having like all these successes, like getting their first apartment. And it's really easy to like sit there and think, oh my goodness, like I'm a failure and I haven't done any of these things. But I had to be really honest with myself and think, okay, I haven't done these things, but this is just not my season yet, and it doesn't mean that I failed. It's just not my time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not easy to pretend those feelings aren't there, or we shouldn't pretend those feelings aren't there. We need to acknowledge them and deal with them. But we need to learn not to dwell on those feelings. Like, you can acknowledge them and be like, okay, I'm feeling like this. I have this jealousy, this almost like discontentment with my season and desire for their season. And we need to learn, don't dwell on that. Like, stay where you're at, stay in your lane, you know, like be focused on what God's calling you to right now, where He's growing you, where He's planted you, because it's going to be different than someone else's. Even if those are things that are goals or dreams of yours, maybe God has better goals and dreams for you, or maybe He has exactly that, but it might not be the time for that. So we need to stay on the path we're on and focus on that, not focus on what this girl's doing or this one. Be inspired, be motivated, but stay on the things God has called you to.
Yeah, that's so true. And like, we're placed where we are for a reason. And so I even remember like complaining about this to my boyfriend one day, and he was like, Sadie, there are people who would kill to be where you're at, but you're not recognizing that because you're so busy like looking ahead and wanting what this girl has. And so it was really a reminder to me to be like grateful and thankful during this time, rather than like bogged down and like complaining about like, oh, I wish I had this and I wish I had that. It was just like kind of one of those moments that like snapped me out of it, and I was like, oh wow, like that's so true. Somebody would love to be where I'm at, and it's just a process of like growing, and it's just like Rachel said, a process of like where the Lord has you right now.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of cliche, but don't wish your life away. You know, like, you always hear these people say like, oh, I can't wait to graduate high school. And then they graduate high school and they're like, oh, those were the best days of my life. Or I can't wait to be married and have kids. But then you're like, oh, I wish I was still in college. Those were the best days of my life. And so on. And it's like, don't get out of the season and look back and be like, I wish I had been more present. I wish I had invested myself more. I wish I had enjoyed it more and lived there more and grown more, because God wants to do that to you. The in-between sometimes is just like stinky. Like, I don't want to be in the in-between of not knowing or feeling like, what is this season? You know what I mean? Like, when it feels like I want to be here, but I'm just lost. Yeah, sometimes that's confusing, but that's also where God's going to grow you and prepare you and make you ready for the next season He's taking you into, no matter what it is, really. And we need to stay on guard and alert for the things that God has for us to do in this lifetime, because He has things He put out for us. And if we get distracted by, well, I want to be here, so I'm just kind of going to pout where I'm at right now and wait till God gives me what I want, we're not going to be living for Him. And maybe this season is the one to prepare you for that. Maybe you are in the season He wants you to be thriving in, but you're not listening to what He wants you to thrive in, because we're distracted by all these other people and what they're doing and wanting that.
Yeah, like, I had a professor talk about these little divine appointments, and I just love that, because there are things every single day that, like, God has for us, and we miss them so much because maybe in my case I'm complaining about not being here, or like we could be distracted by our phones or our schoolwork or whatever. Like, there's several different things that can distract us from these little divine appointments that God has, but yearning for the next season in life is definitely a huge way to miss the little things that God has. And so also, just to kind of like cap this video off, like, the biggest reminder is life is not a race, and I'm speaking that to myself, and I'm sure that's true for Rachel as well, but you're not failing if you haven't reached like every milestone that the girl next door or like the girl on Instagram has reached. Like, you're not failing at all. As long as you're like being proactive to what God has called you to, that's a success.
Yeah, and being honest, sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, girl, you're 22. You don't have to have every single thing you've ever wanted at 22. What's left then? Like, like, I want it all right now, but like, what's left then? I'm not going to be content even if I have it. So, just a quick tip, I have gone back in times I'm feeling ungrateful for my season or just like lost in it, and made a list of all the blessings that God's put in my life and all the things that have become opportunities or that have only been made possible because He's brought them into my life, and things I never expected that He's brought me through or had me do, and been like, God, I'm grateful for this. Like, look at all these seasons where I felt the same way and you still did this and used me. And I think that's an easy way for us to be, like, recognize how God's using us and growing us, especially when you're in a season right now you feel a little lost. So I think that's what we had for today. Yeah. So we'll see you guys again soon. If you like this, hit like, hit subscribe, leave us a comment if you have anything to say, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.